Hello there. Sorry I'm a little bit late. Well, we're just off on a little ride through Amble here. Thanks very much indeed for dropping by. This is just another little demo of the DashWare software. You can see we've got the latitude and longitude in the bottom right hand corner, my route in the bottom left hand corner with the elevation in blue, and the vertical red line shows exactly where I am. You'll see from the scale at the bottom that this is about a 50-mile ride with a few little ups and downs in it. And the gauges there, we've got the power gauges and of course the power in the middle on the left. We've got the cadence in the big green band, and again that's illustrated with the digits as well in that gauge. Speed is the bottom right hand gauge, and then of course the heart rate at the back on the right. So that's pretty much it really. I just thought it was a reasonable way of getting this online, and people could sort of drop in if they wanted to. At the moment we're setting out past the school in Amble, a little bit out towards Acklington eventually. What I'm going to do is I'll just leave this thing running for a while, and then I'll sort of pop back in at various intervals, and then of course the whole stream is available live afterwards. You'll see if you saw the starting picture later on in this ride, there's rather what for me was a very nasty incident when a lorry came past me very close. It was really frightened me to death. Could easily have knocked me off, or the draft was horrendous. Could really easily have knocked me off and killed me really. But you can look at that later on. I think it comes at about an hour and 10 minutes into the ride, so about an hour and 5 minutes or so from now. So if you wanted to drop back, so this will be running for about 90 minutes. We're just heading for a little. This is actually a Strava segment here, but I'm just training at the moment. So so it's just a little dip down here, and then a steep little bank. You'll see the wattages and things change enormously depending on the terrain. It's often quite surprising for people when they first see power data how variable it is. You actually think you're pedalling fairly steadily, but not at all. It's up and down all the time, and particularly you can see when you shift gears up, and I always ease off slightly on the pedal pressure, and you can see there's quite a drop, especially when you shift from the large onto the small, or vice versa chainring. So we'll switch over to full screen now and get rid of my ugly mug, and you can carry on, sort of pop in and out of this whenever you want. See some traffic lights just round the corner here. It doesn't seem to matter where you go in Northumberland. There's always traffic lights, and roads are being dug up, and I don't know why they can dig the roads up so much and they still end up being so terrible. But anyway, I'll leave this running for a bit, and you can look at it if you want, and or pop back a bit later on. So it's been rolling now for about 5-10 minutes, something like that. So the incident with the lorry comes up in about an hour's time. Oh look, the traffic lights were green. That was nice. So at least I got through. Normally not very lucky. I end up getting stopped at every conceivable traffic light. But there we go. So I'll just let this run on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to pop off and replenish my cup of tea, and so I'll pop back in a little while and see how things are going. So cheerio for now. Hi there, that's got the kettle on, so things are underway downstairs. So let's see where we've got to. Oh yes, we're quite a long drag here. This is yet another Strava segment. I think virtually all the roads around here must be Strava segments these days. I think we're on the road now up towards Acklington, I believe. Let's see if I can have a bit of a better view of that. Yes, I'm sure a few big bumps in the road here if you avoid it. It's quite a drag up here, and then you end up the prison, turning off to the prisons up here on the left. Acklington, is it the Young Offenders Institute, I think. Yeah, here's the turn coming up here now. Yeah, HM Prison, Acklington. Yeah, so that's off down to the left, and we're going into Acklington now. But the road surface through here is absolutely terrible. Really, not very good at all. But not much can be done about that. There were some roadworks there not long ago, some more roadworks, and you just seem to have made it worse. Just go and dig another bit up, so even more of it's dug up, but it's terrible. You see, I mean, the camera shakes anyway when it's on a bike, but the roads around here are pretty poor, as you can see, and going through Acklington they're even worse. So there, I shall leave you in peace again. here we go. People walking along there. So, I shall be back a bit later on. We're out past Acklington now, heading on the road out towards Cheveley. There's a little dip coming up fairly soon, and then a little hill which is nearly always into a headwind, a right nuisance. But just had a thought, if you've never tried this, this is really excellent. So Cobra alcohol-free lager. It's really very, very nice, lovely drink. So if you want to avoid too much alcohol, get yourself some of that, it's really good. But I'll leave you in peace now. And here we go down the little dip. There's a big pothole coming up fairly soon, which has been temporarily filled. So we're doing about 20 miles an hour, so it's going along quite nicely. I think I've reached about 19 point something for this ride, so it wasn't too bad. Back later. Right there, looks like we're about 40 minutes into the ride now. All going well. There's a nice bit of road here. Sometimes you get a nasty headwind along it, but you can see at the moment I'm doing about just over 20, 22, 23 miles an hour, something like that. I don't think it wasn't particularly windy on this day, so it was quite nice just rolling along there. Occasionally dips slightly downhill, but generally pretty flat, but as usual some nasty sort of potholes along there. Heading down towards a little place called Longhurst, where there's a little dip down next to the church. So you just went past a big pothole there. You never know when you're going to hit one of those things at speed. It's one advantage of riding on roads that you know fairly regularly. At least you know what's coming. But I'm enjoying my alcohol-free lager. Just had a bite to eat. The road just rises up. Another big pothole just there we went past. The road rises up just a little bit here. Bit of a little push. Up goes the wattage. And then down is coming up to some traffic calming measures, and then we go down through into Longhurst. They've always got to just sneak past you, the cars, haven't they? So the oncoming vehicles have the priority here. It's really annoying when you're going along here at 20, 22, 24 miles an hour and there's a car coming the other way and you have to stop. Very frustrating. This was a sort of good steady tempo ride. I was keeping my heart rate up to sort of 140, 150 most of the time for the odd little push. So here we are, trundling into Longhurst. It's a little bit downhill here. It says -3%. I don't think it's actually that steep. It's probably more like -1, -2 now, yeah. Down we go. And we've got the a bend up at the end of this road, where there's a church on the corner, and a little dip down, and then quite a sort of steep little bank which just gets rid of all your momentum. So it's freewheeling now down here. Cadence and power drop down to 0. At least this has been resurfaced, which it was really bad down here at one time, but at least most of it's been resurfaced anyway. The worst of it has. And then up goes the power again. As we head up this little drag, you'll see the entrance to a place called Longhurst Hall coming up on the right, just round this bend. Unfortunately, that place has I think either gone into receivership or closed down or something. Little drag here, and then it's quite a long drag again after this, and a bend at the end up to the left, and then we get to what is actually the highest point of this ride. It's a road that the profile you can see there, bottom left, does actually dip. Isn't really the whole story. There's not that much in the way of any significant climbs on this ride at all. There's the entrance to Longhurst Hall. We're just coming up to on the right there. But the thing about these roads is they're generally very open and very exposed, as you'll probably noticed on the last section. So they catch the wind terribly. It's very, very rare that you get a day where there isn't a significant headwind at some point. It's always the same. You never seem to get the same level of assistance from the tailwind as you do with the headwind, or the hindering headwind. The car's trundling past. And so as we get round this left-hand bend at the end here, the road kicks up a little bit, and that takes us up to what is the highest point on this ride. So we're probably, I'm just thinking now, about 40-45 minutes into this ride, so probably about the halfway point of this little jaunt. So very badly broken up road surface again. Really very poor, but not a lot we can do about it. So we're up to sort of 4, 5, 6% up here, and then it flattens out, bend to the right, and then off down towards or the road towards Morpeth. Keeping on the right here, nothing coming up ahead, and the road surface again is very broken up on the left and just shakes you to pieces. So we're picking up speed a little bit along here. It's a little bit of a downhill, and a bend at the left, then a straight road, and then we reach a little section called the Pegswood Bypass, which will take us over towards Ashington, and that's got quite a good smooth surface. Really nice if you get a tailwind along there, which you very rarely seem to do. But so this is not a bad section of road here. Very slightly downhill initially, then starts to drag up a bit again. It's just flattening out now, but we're still up to 25 miles an hour, which is a really nice speed to be cruising along at. Traffic island up ahead. Before we get onto the Pegswood Bypass, there's another place where it's annoying if you lose your momentum, because there is a little bit of a drag up here. It's a veterinary practice up ahead. Off we go now on the Pegswood Bypass, and you see it's a good road surface along here. It's one of those roads that's either really very nice with a tailwind, or not very nice with a headwind. I saw my hand briefly pop into the frame there. I'm not quite sure what I was doing, waving my arms about. Well, the next place we come into is Ashington. You'll see the fire station up on the left fairly shortly. Once we get up over this little rise, it's quite surprising that the gradient is still showing 0%, because this is very definitely an uphill section here. Not a steep uphill, as you can tell, but you see the little bridge appearing ahead. Well, that goes over I think it's a railway line, but a very definite uphill. Still managed to maintain over 20 miles an hour up there, which quite satisfies. It's now registering 2% as we actually go over the top. It didn't, must have been because it's a very gradual slope. It may not have detected it. The Garmin 800. You can see the power needle wavering about there. That's just as I knock up the gears, because we're picking up a bit more speed now, because we're now onto the very, very gradual downhill. It's quite hard, because the idea of these tempo rides is to try and maintain a pretty sort of heart rate of 140, 150, 160, not too much above that. Normally around about 150, and the challenge quite often is to work hard enough when you're on a fairly flat, fast section of road. You see, at the moment I'm up at almost 30 miles an hour. I'm still pedalling with a cadence of 85. This is the building that's appearing up on the left there. That's the fire station, which hasn't been there that long, and you can just see straight ahead that sort of angular structure, which is a sort of a monument or statue, piece of modern art anyway. I must admit I'm not exactly sure what it represents. Almost certainly something to do with the coal mining heritage of the area, I should think. I'll have to look into that. There's the man up there. So around we go. Thankfully the island is clear, so we can keep pressing on. But I'm still trying to generally keep it around sort of a couple of 100 watts, 175, 200 watts, something like that. Often find it easier to go on rides where there are some significant hills and things, because at least then you get some significant downhills and can get a period of recovery, so you can manage your effort on the uphills. Don't have to go up like a lunatic if you don't want to. So we're nearly up to 30 miles an hour again. So you don't have to make a huge effort on the hills if you don't want to. You can just pace them at whatever speed you want, as long as you've got your gearing low enough. And you get a nice respite on the downhill sections, where if you're just on these tempo rides are surprisingly challenging, because you're just working hard all the time. It's a bit like riding on a turbo trainer. If you do it properly for sort of tempo or aerobic endurance training, you're riding pretty hard all the time. There's just no recovery, and it's really quite challenging. So I shall leave anyone that's out there to follow the journey. So the next place we come to is Ashington. This long straight. This is a slight uphill here. Even though it hasn't triggered the Garmin to detect the gradient. So the next place is Ashington, then out again the other side of Ashington before we turn off towards the sea again, and then back up north towards Amble. So that's when the section comes up with my incident with the lorry, which I thoroughly didn't enjoy. Which went past me. It's better you won't see it on here in slow motion. I'll post that at some point. But he really came awfully close to me. But anyway, I'll leave you in peace with that, and I'll pop back later. Yeah, that was a nasty little push there. That's the little Asda Rise, Asda the supermarket on the right there. But little push up over that little hill, an old railway line, and then down to the island, straight on towards the hospital where I used to work before I retired. This particular section of road here is like a traffic island thing in the middle, and the road's been sort of widened, and there's a really nasty groove down the middle of it. You see it just here, and it's horrible to cycle over. You could almost lose your wheel down it, and then you've got to do the same when you come back over, and here we go again, big groove down the road. It's really not what you want with a 23mm tyre. You can disappear down it and almost never be seen again. We're just coming up to this island here, so we're going to bear off towards, well, sort of straight on, a little bit towards the left, and the right turn here towards the housing estate would take you down to the Wansbeck Hospital, which is where I've worked for many years. Today we're going straight past, which is nice. So down we go, and we're down here to the A189 roundabout. It won't be too long now before we come to the lorry section. So it's a bloke on the bike on the left there, with a child on the back, neither of them with their helmets on or anything, which is personal preference, but I think if you're going to take a child on a bike, you really should be giving them the best possible chance, I think. The big pothole just underneath this bridge that you have to swing round, easy to miss. There it goes, and we turn left at this little roundabout, which is then just after the roundabout is the entrance to the Woodhorn Colliery Museum, which is quite an interesting little place. So down goes the power, off goes the cadence, freewheel around the corner, and off we go again into a slight uphill, and there we have the entrance to the Colliery Museum signs there on the left, and the old winding wheel symbol. See from my shadow there, it's time for a drink. cadence and power all over the place. I'll start fiddling around with the bottle. So just coming up here on the left is the Woodhorn Grange, which is a brewer's fair place. You can really get a very, very good and very inexpensive meal there. It's very, very good. You see some wind turbines which were put up there not that long ago. Now I'm just going along this section of road. This is where my nasty experience, what for me was a nasty experience with the lorry happened. And you'll see when we get there, there's cars, oncoming cars. Bear in mind that people are supposed to give cyclists the same courtesy as you would give to another road user. So I'm riding on some clip-on tri-bars here, perfectly sort of safe and steady, and you'll see in the distance is just oncoming cars coming. Here we are, and the lorry comes absolutely flying past me shortly. So there's a truck coming along, a couple of cars. So the road ahead, see some woods coming up, is not clear. So there's cars coming in the distance. So you would expect that a large lorry would not try and squeeze through there, but just watch this. It's absolutely terrifying. It was to me. Now that really was not nice at all. Fortunately, with this setup, I was able to get the number of the vehicle, which I'm going to report to the police, and also the name of the company, that sort of thing. But it really sort of was quite a nasty experience. So I will post that video as an individual clip, and you'll see he's miles giving me tons of room, which is absolutely great. It was a horrible experience. So now we're heading off down the hill, island at the bottom, turn right, and then we're heading out past Ellington. So we're now about just under an hour and 10 minutes into the ride, something like that. Done sort of 23, 24 miles, something like that. You see, when that lorry went past, all it would have taken was a big pothole or a drain or really some sort of bad wobble, I suppose, of big gust of wind from the left, something like that, because the draft from the lorry itself was terrible. I did seem to stay on a pretty steady course, which was fortunate. So I've probably got about another 10 to 15 minutes to run before the ride, as you can see from the red progress bar, went on for quite a bit longer. We're not quite at the halfway point of this ride yet, but the battery life on the video camera is fairly limited. You can get a couple of hours out of it, but it depends on the frame rate and the frame size that you record at. I recorded these with a 720 pixel frame height at 50 frames a second. It's progressive video, so just to try and get reasonable quality. I find if you go up to the 1920 by 1080, you'll just get about an hour of recording then, and for the sort of thing I'm doing with these video clips, and being on a moving bike and things, I've not found that there's a huge amount to be gained by using the higher frame size, and you do obviously compromise the length of the recording time you can get. So this was so I get about anything between 90-95 minutes, depends a bit on the ambient temperature. It was 8 to 10 degrees for this ride, so that's not the ideal temperature for a battery, but 90 minutes is long enough. And now we're going off down the little dip, a little place called Ellington on the right. So there's a little dip down here and then a drag up to a traffic island. But by this time in the ride, I was still feeling fine. Been working reasonably hard, not desperately hard, but I was still ticking along at 150 beats a minute. About 200 watts, just under, up and down a bit. To go up a bit now because of this drag, but I generally find riding short to medium tempo rides to be a more effective method of training than long easy rides and things. I mean, long easy rides are nice. It's cafe stops and things. It's very enjoyable. But if time's limited, as it has been at the moment with various things I've had to do, I find it more effective to just do shorter but harder rides. I think the video earlier on may have got a bit broken up because I just learned that Lorena had been trying to use the catch-up TV, download some programs, and so I don't know what effect that will have had. It'll be quite interesting to look back and see. She did say that it wouldn't download, so it may have, don't know whether jobs get any sort of particular priority, but I would imagine it would have caused some breakup of the video. You suddenly tried to start downloading a big video file over the same channel. It would be alright if we had fibre optic, but obviously we don't. So I'm just running with about a 9 megabits per second download speed and just under 1 megabit per second of upload speed at the moment. So anything that comes along and adds to the burden on the bandwidth is almost certain to cause some degradation. But yes, it will be interesting to have a look back and just see how much of an impact it had, or whether it just whether it just stopped the download. So I'm going to let that continue to run on for a while, and at least there'll be a little online record of this ride. Never know, folks might like to have a peep at odd bits of it now and again. But I'm going to pop back downstairs now, see how Lorena's getting on, and I shall leave this with you for a spell. Okay, just coming up to what is probably the last island of this ride. Then we go out onto a nice wide road off towards the Druridge Bay Country Park. So round the island we go. Nasty, that drain that we just went over there, that's not very nice in the wet. You suddenly catch a wheel on that. It's quite easily to slither off. So that was just past the Widrington Inn on the right. This road has been fairly recently resurfaced. In fact, it was done in two sections. This section was done very recently, and the section further ahead was done a little while back. So we've now been riding for, well, we're just coming up to the 30-mile sort of distance. Well, perhaps let's see, about 28 miles, something like that. And along here it's just a matter of rolling along. Everything's 20, 22 miles an hour, something like that. Quite a nice road just to roll along, but I think so I've been broadcasting now for about an hour 26, 27 minutes, something like that, maybe a little bit less. So I think we'll call it a day. I hope that's been of some bit of interest. Just have a little look around one of my local rides. At least it's been a sunny day. But I'll call it a day for now. Thanks to anyone who did drop by to check out this little YouTube event. And I'll say cheerio for now, and enjoy whatever you're doing, and stay safe and stay happy. So cheerio.